This is Grace Notes. I'm Alan Button. Our guest today is Mr. Earl Wright, and Earl is accompanied by a friend of his, Mr. Ming Gillis. Earl, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Ming, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Earl is renowned in his part of the world for a project that he started some 22 years ago now, Earl?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And you call it Project Santa, is that right?
Project Santa, yes, sir.
Well, tell us about it. What is that?
Project Santa is we started giving toys away, me and my grandkids in Brookside apartment. We call it the project. I was cleaning out, because I used to clean construction houses, so we went in, and this lady had about 6 kids, and she was going to throw all the toys away, so we grabbed the toys and took them home, cleaned them up on Christmas Day. When we took them to the project, the project manager, could we put the toys out and give them to the kids? And they say, yeah. So that's where the name come from, Project Santa.
Uh-huh. Well, I want to spend a little time here in a little bit later talking about some of the details of what's involved. And so we'll come back to where Project Santa has gone from 22 years ago to today. Tell me a little bit, Earl, if you would, about your background, where you're from and what your growing up was like.
I come from Rayford, North Carolina. We were sharecropping. That's where we come from. I got lucky. My great-great-grandmother, my great-great-granddaddy, and my grandmother raised me. They had 8 boys. They had eight kids. And it was tough time because it was sharecropping. It was tough. I come from living in a see-through house. You can lay in the bed and count the stars, look through, and you can see the stars.
By see-through house, you mean there were holes in the roof?
Yes, there were holes in the roof. Yes, sir. My grandmother made quilts, thick quilts, so you could wake up in the morning and you could see the little frost on top of the quilt, but we didn't never get cold. We made it through it. We had a fireplace in the house. That was our heat, and we had an old wood stove. It was rough, but family was close back then. We were all close. When we got together on Christmas, we didn't have a lot of stuff, but we had some stuff. I always tell this story. We had one tree. It was one of them old silver trees made out of wood. You stick the branches in it. We had 6 bulbs to go on that tree and 1 string of lights. We put them away like it was gold every year until it finally fell apart. Yeah. And then we started cutting one out the woods. So it's been a good life.
And even in those tough circumstances growing up, Christmas was special.
Yes, that was the best time of year. You get to eat all you want.
You were telling me before we came in the studio about you and your brother with respect to bicycles.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So we had a scrap yard, we call it a junk yard, about 2.5 miles from the house. So me and my brother, we walk down there, we get our parts, like the frame. He bring a frame back, I bring a frame back, bring a tire, and then we go back the next day and get the rest of it. And we finally got, my uncle gave me a pair of pliers, adjustable wrench, and a screwdriver. I started working on them, and I've been doing it for 22 years. You just get addicted to it. You can do it. It's not hard. Working on a bicycle, and just take time and busted up knuckles. You will bust them up on old bicycles.
So you started out in your bicycle enterprise with 3 basic tools as a kid, you and your brother.
Yeah.
Getting parts from the junkyard.
Yes, sir.
Earl, I understand that from that point you've come to the place where you actually have been named Man of the Year.
Yeah.
Ming, maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, Mr. Earl has received many accolades, and that was a great, great honor. The community saw what Mr. Earl has been doing, and they decided to come out and recognize him. And the way they chose to recognize him was to make him Man of the Year.
Well, it says something about how the community has recognized and how the community appreciates all that Earl has done. Earl, you know that we're also about music here, and you've identified a song that is special to you.
Yes.
Tell us about it. I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
It's something. I heard it and it made me laugh. I mean, seriously, I got carried away. When I first heard I was coming down the road, and I thought, I just pulled out the road. I stopped, and I had to hear this hippopotamus song.
It was affecting your driving, huh?
Yeah, I pulled side of the road, and I had to listen to it. When I got back, I called Miss Sharon Thompson and told her, go out and get this for me. And she went and bought it. And the kids get sick of her. When my kids come over, Daddy, why you listen to that? I like it.
and you know the lyrics too, don't you?
Pretty good.
What's a little girl gonna do with a hippopotamus?
Yeah, and two go ride a hippopotamus. Come on now, this is it. And I mean, the teacher told her, Mama said the hippopotamus would eat her up, and the teacher said the hippopotamus is a vegetarian. So come on now, he can't ask for that. It's a laugh. You know, I just started laughing at it. And I still laugh at it today, every time I hear it.
Well, let's hear the song, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas by Gayla Peavy, first recorded in 1953.
I want a only like hippopotamuses, and hippopotamuses like me too.
That was I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
Yes.
By Gayla Peavy. If you're just joining us, our guest today is Mr. Earl Wright, accompanied by his friend, Mr. Ming Gillis. Yeah, what a fun song.
Yes, it is.
Gayla discovers that the hippopotamus is a vegetarian, and you have doubts, I guess, about whether she could actually keep it in a two-car garage.
Two-car garage. It's kind of hard to keep a hippopotamus in two-car, but if she wanted it, I guess she got it there. Mama and Dad let her have it. I wish I could have seen it myself.
We were talking before we went to that song about your Man of the Year recognition. I understand that you also have received North Carolina's Lifetime Achievement Award during the tenure of Governor Pat McCrory.
Yes, I did. I did.
What a special thing. I gather that was particularly meaningful to you.
Yes, it was. It really was. It was a shock.
Well, congratulations on the recognitions that you've received. That's a terrific thing, and well deserved. And I'd like, in fact, speaking of its being well deserved, to have you and Ming, if you would, tell us a little bit more about Project Santa and the details. What's involved? Tell us about the project.
Well, the project is it's amazing. Really, it is amazing. You have to be there to see it on Christmas Day. They gave me the bicycle. I mean, they're great. I mean, some of them it's unreal how much stuff you have to do to some of them. Every bicycle come out this warehouse, I got to see about putting my hand on. I got to look at them. I don't know. It's got to be there because we can't let the kids get hurt.
Let me have you back up for a minute, if you would. You said it's just a wonderful thing to see the kids on Christmas Day. What happens on Christmas Day?
We generally load the trucks Christmas Eve.
Yes.
From the warehouse.
And you have a warehouse that's devoted to, for some months prior to Christmas, to the work of...
Yes, we've actually been given a space by Mr. John O'Malley. So we have that year-round. So all year we can collect and do our work there.
And it's there that you collect both new and used bicycles?
Correct.
Put them together? And
yes.
Preparation for the event on Christmas Day?
Correct.
And it's amazing. Mr. O'Malley say, as long as he got a building, I got a place for my bicycle as long as I want to do it. I got 3 more in me. I got 3 more in me. That'll be 25.
That's 3 more years.
3 more. That'll be 25 years.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gillis then.
Well, to kind of give you a little bit more idea of what goes on Christmas Day.
Sure.
We actually have, once we get there, probably about between 5 and 6, we'll have 5 and 6, the volunteers will start to show up. And on Christmas Day, we have lots of volunteers versus working up to that particular day. So on Christmas Day, we're filled out, and it's a great thing. Help unload the trucks. We set the bicycles up in lines. And it's not all new and all used. It's they're mixed in together, and it's all about the child. The parent will say, "Hey, pick that new bicycle over there. It's going to work and look better at home." But a child, whatever they see that sparks their interest, that's what they're going to choose. So we have the parents wait, and we have the volunteers go in with the children. And then the volunteers there to help them size up themselves with the bicycle, make sure they can ride it, or if they need one with a set of training wheels or something of that nature. So that's what the volunteer does with the child.
I'm guessing that Christmas Day event is the culmination of a lot of hard work. It's a real victory time.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that the night before Christmas is pretty busy.
You're anxious. You're really anxious. You want to get everything together, and you've got to make sure it's kind of like going on a trip.
Well, speaking of the night before Christmas, that reminds me of another song, Earl, that you've identified, Silent Night. Tell us about it.
Don't have to tell you. It's just, you just listen to it. It's just.
Most people know Silent Night, don't they?
Yes. How many people don't know Silent Night?
It's been around for about 200 years now.
Yes. It was around when I was a little fella, and I'm 62 now. And, I mean, it's getting close to Christmas when you hear this song, The Temptation, Silent Night.
We play a lot of Temptations here at the station, and it's special to be able to play their version of Silent Night. Let's hear it. Silent Night by the Temptations.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature. Merry Christmas from the Temptations.
That was Silent Night by the Temptations. If you're just joining us, our guest today is Mr. Earl Wright, and he's accompanied by his friend and helper in Project Santa, Mr. Ming Gillis. Ming, if we could, before we go back to Earl, tell us a little bit about why you're involved and how you got involved.
Sure. I have, at the time, I had 3 children at home, 3 boys. I have wonderful boys, but they were a bit entitled. They all had one of everything, video games. They didn't share their games. They each had the same game. But then it got to a point where I needed them to understand that it's much better to give than it is to receive. And it's really hard to explain that to a child that you've given since they could ask. And I saw that I had taken it too far in my household. We had some additional bicycles, and I was at a thrift store, and I found a bicycle that was like $20, and it was just needed some minor repair. And the idea came, well, let me buy this, and I'll take it to, at that time, I said, I will take it to the bicycle man. I didn't know Mr. Earl at that time. And so we bought the bicycle, and we went home and picked up the ones that we had, and we brought, the boys and I brought it over to Mr. Earl's home in Southern Pines. Just in with talking to him, I felt like this was a project that the boys and I could get behind. It's certainly a boy thing. It's bicycles. It's repair. I was like, okay, this is good. So I asked Mr. Earl, could we come help? And he said, sure. He told me the time to be there. I felt like that was the right place for my family. And it has turned out, 4.5 years later, turned out to be the right place for my family and also the right place for me.
Well, Earl, Ming's story is evidence of the impact that you've had through Project Santa and your commitment to that effort and that cause. Just one example of the ripple effect of all that you've done.
They call giving it back. Just give back. That's all it is. Just give back. God's good to you. He let me get up every morning, so I try to do something every day of my life to try to help somebody else. Give back, and you'll get it back.
For those of you listening, you can't see Earl, but he's actually wearing a Santa Claus hat, or at least a Santa Claus elf helper's hat.
Yeah.
Mr. Project Santa. You've mentioned Sharon Thompson a couple of times. Who is she and what's her role?
my soulmate, my backbone. She the one to be on this phone 24/7. I mean, she the one call these people. She the one make these phone calls.
She sends out all the letters, all the requests for funds and donations. Really, I have to say she's the brains of the outfit, and Mr. Earl is the technical side, and I'm usually the voice.
Gotcha.
And, so that's kind of how we work as a three person team.
Yeah, sounds like a great team.
Yeah.
What's your target in terms of numbers of bicycles for this year?
Miss Thompson wanted 2,000. I don't know, because it's, like I said, been a little rough this year. We're going to try to pull what we can. If we come with 1,500 next year, I guarantee you we'll do that 2,000. I'm going to get the 2,000 before I walk out the door.
Earl, tell us, or Ming, you speak up too if you'd like. Tell us if people want to help, if they want more information, whom should they contact? How can they get in touch with those that have that information?
Well, you can reach Mr. Earl on his cell. That number is 910-639-9506, and or Miss Sharon Thompson, and her number is 910-639-4048.
Well, Earl, with that as preface, tell us about this third song that you've selected, Christmas Shoes.
Christmas Shoes is something everybody needs to listen to around this time of year. If you have not heard this song, you need to go get it, listen to it. Because, like I say, when I first heard it, I just broke down and cried. I mean, serious. It's unreal. This is what Christmas is about. It's about our Savior, and it's about your heart.
Well, Earl, as you know, this song is actually based on a true story. It was in the 1970s that Helga Schmidt was standing in line store in Kansas. Strikes me that you're that person, standing in line, seeing the little kids coming up short, and you're stepping in and helping them out.
That's what it's about. And you know something? I wish I was that person standing in line at that time, because I would have dug in my pocket and bought the shoes and gave his money back.
It sounds to me like, based on what I've heard in talking with you, there's going to be a song or maybe a bunch of songs written about you at some point. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Let's hear the song, Christmas Shoes by New Song. You've been listening to Grace Notes, a special program here on Life 103.1 featuring people who may be relatively unknown, but who meet life's challenges in ways that brighten the lives of those around them. Our producer is Will Robinson. I'm Alan Button, and we invite you to join all of us here at the station again next Friday at 5:30 for Grace Notes on Life 103.1.